Here you go, Elijah. Go in my room, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're just waiting on all of our participants to get in.
Elijah, go in there now. You're going to have to. Can you hear me now? Jamie, can you hear me now? Jamie, can you hear me now?
Okay.
Jamie, can you hear me now? Jamie, can you hear me now? Jamie, can you hear me now?
Okay, I'm just having a little trouble here trying to get my co-host permission to speak.
Can you hear me now?
Is the tech person in here that can help get my co-host to speak? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully the tech person is going to come in and help get my co-host able to speak so that she can assist in the presentation. So here at Riverdale, we offer the Registered Behavior Technician International Certification, and then short for that is the RBT Certification. We do this through our Practicum or 4th level course in Human Services. This picture is an example of the class when we first started it 3 years ago. Whenever we started it 3 years ago, the idea for the class was to work with one of our CDC teachers and invite students from the structured SPED setting to come into our classroom and learn with us so that our students could teach them what they've learned about nutrition, teach them what they've learned about social health services so that they could all learn together in a very integrated way. In this class on Mondays, we would not have our learners come in with us, and we would plan for them, plan activities, decide what we were going to learn for that week, and then we would bring them in on Tuesdays through Fridays, and we would learn our standards together. We would work with them, and students from both the dietetics pathway and the social health services pathway could take what they've learned in the previous 3 classes and apply it. So what exactly is the registered behavior technician? What they do is they take the plans of the board certified behavior analyst and they implement those plans with the learners. So all of these learners are students who have behavior problems. And so they're going to work with them and implement the plans that are created for them. So it's kind of like a substitute teacher coming in, taking the lesson plan and implementing it with the children. So the question here is, how could learning more about behavior assist you in your classroom? So if you guys can access the chat feature, you could put your answers in there. Also, ahead of time, you might have printed out the sheet that goes with the PowerPoint. So if you have that printed out, maybe you've thought about these questions ahead of time. So I'll give you a second to add that into the chat. Tiffany, can you see the chat? Okay.
Jamie, can you hear me now?
I can actually not see the chat, so I'm not sure what's going on in there. Okay, so who can actually do this? Anybody can do this as long as they have a high school diploma and they're 18 years old. So we're going to start these students off before graduating high school so that they can have all of the information and all of the training that they need. And once they graduate, they're going to be able to test. So the training is going to start about 6 months before taking the exam. So we'll start that here in class. So our plan is going to be for the human services students that are in the practicum class to complete the training in the spring of their senior year. So in the fall of senior year, we're going to really focus on the Tennessee state standards that go with the class. We are going to teach students, and our learners are also going to be in there learning our standards with us. And then after Christmas, in the fall, we are going to start the actual training, and I'm going to show you guys what that's going to look like. So the training itself is going to be 40 hours, and it's going to be supervised under a certified behavior analyst. And they're going to have to pass a competency test that is also going to be overseen by this certified behavior analyst. So whenever they pass the competency assessment, which we'll pull up later and kind of go over that and let you guys see what's on the competency assessment here in a little bit. The RBT certification is actually administered at a secure Pearson testing center. So the students are going to have to register for this, and they're going to have to go to a secure testing site, a Pearson located near you. So the actual training is going to be the 40 hours. We have partnered with Tabensky Behavior Services within our course, and we are using, again, we're using the Practicum course for this. And the 40 hours of training is going to take place within our Practicum course. Students might have to watch some of the videos and do some stuff for homework, which would be expected. We're going to use classroom instruction, we're going to use practical application, and we're going to use videos. And a lot of the stuff that goes along with this training fits really nicely into our standards, so it's kind of a win-win and it works out. So for the question here, who could you partner with in your community to offer this RBT training and certification? So who could you guys actually partner with? Do you guys have a program in your area where people go, where learners go, and they learn they learn behavior modification skills. Who do you guys have? We have the Tabensky Behavior Services. We also have a new clinic called AIM Clinic. We have other clinics where behavior therapists oversee technicians. So who do you guys have in your area? Do you know? Give you guys a minute to answer that in the chat. Okay. So again, we are taking the exam at a secure Pearson testing location. So you're probably wondering, what is the cost? The current cost for the test is $45. Now, as far as with our partnership with Kelly Tabensky, we currently are not paying anything for the training and for her to administer the task list. So if you guys are able to find a company that's going to work with you and kind of waive some of those fees, that's going to be to your benefit. So our only cost right now is going to be the $45 for the test. After students pass the test, there is an application fee to the Behavior Analyst Certification Board. So they will send in their test scores where they pass the test, and then they're $50, and then they will be certified. It is an international certification, so they can take that anywhere they want. So the next question for you guys is going to be, what could you guys do to raise $100 for testing fees for your students? So the $45 for the test, and then the $50 for the application. So what are some options that you guys have? Last year, before COVID interrupted us, we had several of our students who had planned to test after they finished all of the training, and we sold coupon books. So each student sold X amount of books to raise the money that they needed, and we put that money in a pot, and then so we still have that money saved for students who want to continue on and go and sit for the exam whenever everything is back up and operational. Okay, so the why, whoop, we've got a hand raised. Tiffany, have you got that? No? Okay. Not sure what that means. Okay. So we will take questions here in a little bit. If you've got additional questions, you can ask that through the chat. Tiffany, are you getting good chat feedback? Tiffany, are you getting good chat feedback?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So why are we doing this? There's a big job market for this right now, and we all know that our pathways are very competitive, and we have to offer a lot of these new things, and we have to think outside the box to offer stuff to our students. So mental health, behavioral health is currently growing really high. It's got a high rate of growth. The registered behavior technician is not listed under that specifically, but it does fall within the categories of 13 to 20% growth rates. So that's pretty good. A lot of the reasoning behind this is the fact that insurance plans have to offer, most insurance plans now have to offer funding for behavior therapy, because it is a science, it's a proven science, and it has very high success rates. So insurance companies are now paying for this, so that is huge for families. A lot of families were paying cash to behavior therapists and technicians to come into their house or for them to go to a clinic, anywhere from $50 an hour and up for their kids to receive this therapy. And so now a lot of times it's just whatever your copay is or whatever your percentage is for your insurance. So currently, the behavior therapist that we work with, her company has a 3-year waiting list. So the need for this service has drastically increased over the years. A lot of the clients, a lot of the learners that are worked with are on the autism spectrum. And so we know that autism rates are increasing also. And more people are being diagnosed and not slipping through the cracks. There's just a higher rate of diagnosis. So these therapies are being offered to people who need them the most. All right, so what are the benefits for our students? The students who actually receive the certification, so they complete all 40 hours of training. That is going to be videos, in person, in classroom, and then they pass the test, they apply for their license, and they get it. They're going to be able to enter the workforce immediately. So our partnership, she needs people, and she is offering interviews immediately as soon as students get their licensure and finish the program. But they can go anywhere. They don't have to go with her. School systems need behavior technicians. There's clinics out there that need behavior technicians. And again, this is international, so they can go anywhere in the world and use this. So they're going to make about $20 to $25 an hour with sitting in our classroom for a year, learning our standards, and going through a 40-hour training, completing a task list, and passing their exam. So there's not a whole lot out there right now that you can do that is 40 hours worth of training, and they can go out and make $20 to $25 an hour immediately. So that's huge. The lowest pay is about $17 an hour. This is also an excellent gateway to higher paying careers. So some of these kids might start out, hey, I'm going to go and be the RBT. And they really get into it, and they're like, oh, well, maybe I'll just become the actual therapist. And then there's different levels of the therapist, and of course, different pay for each level. And then many students can work a part-time job making really good money. They would have to work less hours than if they worked at Walmart making $10 an hour. And then they can concentrate more on their college courses or obtain higher education or certifications. So how could you guys recruit students for your RBT program? How could you guys go out there in your school and tell students about this, recruit students, bring more students into your program? Here at Riverdale, we offer both pathways, and so it works out so much nicer to offer the social health services pathway and offer the dietetics pathway, so you can just mesh all that together. You've got two teachers that are able to collaborate and offer this stuff together. Okay, now this is supposed to be Tiffany's part, and I don't think anybody has checked in on us yet.
They can hear me.
So I'm going to see if I can pass this over to her. Try to make you the host, Tiffany.
Messina, I see that your hand is raised. If you have a question, could you jump over to the chat for me and type that in, because we can't hear you, or we won't be able to hear you, hear participants. I understand. Okay, so I am going to start sharing my screen. Well, as soon as she stops sharing.
I can't hear you. Is it not going through?
They can hear me. You can't, though.
Do you still have the chat up?
Yes.
I can't hear you. Mm. What if
Okay, I think I just canceled her out. So here we go. I'm going to pull this up and get started on what I was going to talk about. First of all, RBTs is an excellent gateway into higher paying careers. Like Jamie said, they're starting out at $20 to $25 an hour whenever they get out of high school. But then they can work up to higher careers where they will be able to make $80 to $100 an hour charging insurance. RBTs and BCBAs, which a BCBA is a master's level specialist, they fall under the guidelines of ABA therapy. ABA therapy is actually a science. It does not fall under the social sciences. It falls under the science category. And so I'm going to show you really quick what the BCBA website looks like. This is the BCBA website, and it's the Behavior Analyst Certification Board. It is an international certification board. So this is nationally and internationally recognized. And it goes all the way back to the early 1900s, this field does. So they decided that we needed a certification for people who are giving ABA services. And so that's why the BCBA was created. And these are the 4 levels of practices. So first we have the RBT, which is what we've started providing for our high school students to be able to earn. And that is a high school diploma level. And there is a test. The bachelor's level is a BCABA. There is a certification exam for that level as well. There is some coursework that they have to go through, and then they have a test that they have to take to be able to be a BCABA. The third level is the BCBA. That's the master's level certification. There is more coursework, and you have to have a master's in either education or psychology, strangely enough, even though it doesn't fall under the psychology field, or in behavior analyst. And then they take an exam, and they can be a BCBA. And then the final level is the BCBA-D, and that's the doctoral level. So you can go all the way up, and it's a very high demand field. Currently, about 67% of the practicing BCBAs are practicing in autism support. There are other areas that you can practice in as well. Basically, anybody that lives and breathes can use ABA therapy. So anyone who needs help with a socially significant behavior in their life, enhancing their lives and making it better, can use ABA. It's also excellent for organizations. So there's another branch of ABA therapy that goes into businesses, and they can help businesses with safety, with productivity, with making higher levels of income, and they can be really beneficial to businesses as well. So it's a huge field that students, once they get started in, they can go in many different areas. I'm going to go right over here to the eligibility requirements. And so let me talk a little bit about our RBT certification requirements. This is what our students, should they wish to become a full RBT, they would need to do. Currently in Jamie's class, and she teaches the Practicum course for us at Riverdale, they are doing the 40 hours of training within class in the spring semester. There is a little bit, like she said, a little bit of outside work that they have to do, but very little. And they have the lab there where the CDC students come in to class 4 days a week, and they practice their skills with the CDC students. They do that training within our class for free. All the students do it. And then once they graduate high school, they can choose to take the certification exam. And then when they pass it, it's a little bit under $100, and they can go right out into the field and start working as they're going to college too. This is the RBT task list. It's a lot of technical terms, and so I don't want to get too far into it because there's so many technical terms that if you're working with an organization to provide the training, that they will need to explain. But basically, students will need to be able to collect data. Since this is a natural science and does not fall under philosophical sciences or social sciences, there is lots of data, and so it's almost like what we do in the classroom. We check students to see how much they know before we teach them, and then we teach them, and then we check to see how much they have learned. So in ABA practice, they do much the same thing. First thing is the assessment, and they say, where is this learner at? How can we help them to have a better quality of life? What do we need to work on? What are our target behaviors? And then the plan is put together by the BCBA. So an RBT works under a BCBA. Lots of terms here, sorry. And so the BCBA puts that plan together, and then the RBT goes in and implements the plan. There are assessments there under B, you can see. C is skill acquisition. So how are they able to implement those procedures that the BCBA puts together? And we see C12, token economy. A lot of us use token economies in our classrooms. Then we have D is behavior reduction. So if a learner has a behavior that we're trying to reduce the frequency of, how are we able to implement the procedures to reduce that behavior? And then documenting and reporting, because ABA therapy is so data driven, the student will need to be able to document that data from their sessions and upload that to the reporting site that their BCBA uses. And then, of course, professional conduct, which is in all of our classes already. So client dignity, professional boundaries, and giving feedback. Feedback is huge in ABA, and being able to take and give feedback is super important in the field. So I'm going to go right back over here. I'll blow that up for you. Did anybody have any questions? Let me jump over to chat and see if anybody had any questions. If you want to pop that in. Oh, who serves as your BCABA supervisor? That's a great question, Angela. So a BCBA would be the supervisor for the BCABA. So you have to have a master's level BCBA. They're the practitioner, and then they would have a BCBA underneath them, looking over all of their work. It's kind of like in the medical field where you have a doctor and then you have a nurse practitioner. And so the nurse practitioner would be like the BCABA, and the doctor would be the BCBA. So great question. Were there any other questions? No. Okay. So let me jump back to the presentation. Do you have dual enrollment relationships for this program? Not for this program, but Jamie has a quick dual enrollment that she's going to talk about here in just a second. Okay. So let's look a little bit at our RBT data, and this is international. So the numbers are going up on these are the people who applied for RBT certification. In 2019, just over 70,000 people applied for that certification, but that is internationally. The RBTs do the brunt of the work in implementing the programs for the BCBA. So the BCBA designs those programs, the RBT comes in and actually implements the programs. So that's why RBTs are so important to the ABA field and why they're greatly needed. Okay, and this is the annual report data from the BACB. That's the Behavior Analyst Certification Board. In 2019, the number of candidates tested for the RBT, the first-time people, were 30,578. Right now, like Jamie said, it is a 40-hour training and then that test. They will most likely in coming years go up on that training required, and there could possibly be some college added to it. So maybe even an associate's degree. So doing this program now for our students is a great benefit for the students as well as for the field, which we all can probably agree that behavior services are greatly needed. The percentage of candidates passing for the first time RBT is 87%. Kelly Tabinski, that does our training right now, she has a 100% pass rate. So everybody that she trains and goes and takes the test actually passes the test. And she is certified to do that testing. There are organizations everywhere across the state that can help with behavior services. Okay, this is Tennessee specific. For the RBT, we have 676 RBTs in Tennessee, which really honestly is not enough. It's not anywhere near enough. So more are definitely needed. Kelly Tabinski has a 3-year wait. Like Jamie said, they have a 3-year wait. There are other clinics here in the county that also have huge wait times. That means that a child with autism is waiting an average of 2 to 3 years to be able to get behavior services. So there's a huge need for in our field in this area. Let's see. And so nobody can see my presentation. I am so sorry. I think we're still seeing Tiffany's. Okay. I think we're okay, right? If you're still having a problem, let me know. Okay, right now there are 40 active RBTs in the area within 25 miles of our school. 5 of those individuals are seen by the organization Tabinski Behavior Services, which is who we are working with. Okay. Now, Jamie, I think you are muted now. You're muted. Yes.
Is this the right slide? Okay, we weren't following along. Now we're good.
I still don't think Jamie can hear me, but
I can.
oh, perfect. Okay, awesome sauce. So now if you would just like to talk about dual enrollment, and then we'll be done, I think.
Okay. Well, I don't think they saw your screen. Is that right? With the numbers?
Oh, man.
So I was going to kind of go back because we were stuck there.
Okay.
So,
I'm so sorry, guys, about the technology problems.
so that was what you were talking about with the certificates per year. And then, do you want to kind of tell them what you were saying here?
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're asking.
I think they didn't see this whenever you were talking about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so this one right here, this chart here is where it shows that in 2019 there was I'm having a hard time seeing it myself now, 30,000 certificates for the RBT, but that is international. And then on the next screen was the Tennessee data, which is probably, yeah, there we go. And so there were 676 that applied in Tennessee last year.
Yep.
Or there were 676, sorry.
Okay. Did you go over this one?
Yeah, so we just need to talk about dual enrollment and
Okay.
get on to the keywords.
Okay. And all of this information is uploaded under our files if you missed out on any of the slides. All right, so we do have some early post-secondary opportunities with MTSU as well that I wanted to mention. This can sort of loosely go along with the RBT certification. It really just depends on who your clients are going to be and what types of problems they might need help with. So Riverdale is leading in Rutherford County in our partnership with MTSU's Human Sciences Department. This is going to be our 4th year to offer the Nutrition Science Diet Therapy course as a dual enrollment course. And this is online through MTSU. And we use the college course Nutrition for the Health Sciences. And so far we've got a 100% student pass rate. So all students who have taken this course in the previous 3 years have passed. None of them have failed this course. So they've all received their credit. MTSU is willing to add schools and counties that are interested in this as well. And this coming year is going to be our first year to offer the Nutrition Across the Lifespan course as dual credit. And this is going to be for MTSU's Principles of Nutrition course. So what they'll do is they're going to give me all of the information that I need to teach this course. And I'm going to teach the course, and it's very aligned. The Principles of Nutrition course, the information in there is 90% the same for Nutrition Across the Lifespan. And so there's a whole lot of crossover. You can't get much better than that. So after I teach the material that they've given me that's aligned with our standards for the most part, at the end of the year, the students will pay $60, it is non-refundable, to MTSU, and they're going to receive a link where they can access the exam, and I'll give that exam here at Riverdale so they don't have to leave. We'll use one of our computer rooms, and they said that I can proctor it. I'll most likely invite an administrator or somebody else to make sure that everything goes smoothly and I'm not helping them. The student does not get the money back if they don't pass, but they just have to make a 70. So very similar to our TSIC, where they just have to pass with 70% and they'll get the college credit. Now they don't get a letter grade. They just get the credits, and those credits can transfer to any university in Tennessee and maybe outside of Tennessee if the college will accept it. So I will pull up if we have time, which I know we're running out of, so we may not. But in the files that I uploaded, I also uploaded the Dual Nutrition Handbook. And so you guys are going to be able to access the Dual Nutrition Handbook. It outlines how the program works, how the students receive the credit, how they get the testing done, where they send the money, and all that stuff. And then the contact information for Janet Colson at MTSU, who I'm working with to offer this credit. And it does talk about in the handbook the difference between dual enrollment and dual credit. So with the dual enrollment class, their junior year or senior year when they take that, they do have to be a junior or a senior, have a 22 or higher on the ACT or a 3.0 and meet MTSU's admission requirements. So they become a college student, they get a card so that they can go on campus and access some of campus's facilities. And so they use their Tennessee, it's the Promise, right? The Tennessee Promise, Tiffany, I believe. They use their Tennessee Promise money for that, and they can take 4 of the dual enrollment courses basically for free through MTSU. And then we're offering the Principles of Nutrition course with Nutrition Across the Lifespan. That is going to be offered to sophomores, juniors, or seniors, and they just take the regular high school course, and then they take the challenge exam. If they pass, they get the credit. And so that doesn't take away from their 4 free dual enrollment courses. It's just an extra like bonus class that they get for $60. And so you can review that nutrition handbook after the presentation if you'd like. So how could your school, what could your school do to offer students some of these opportunities? What could you guys do? And then, of course, when trying to do that, what roadblocks might you foresee having to overcome to make these opportunities available at your school? And like I said, MTSU is very willing to work with schools outside of Rutherford County on both of these opportunities, anywhere in the state. Are we getting good feedback in the chat, Tiffany?
Not about that. We had the question about, is there EPSO or dual credit alignment to RBT certification experience? Not yet. Our CTE advisor for Rutherford County has been in the process of trying to get that passed through the state, but because of COVID and then also, as we know, staffing changes in the CTE department at the state level, it has not gone through yet from what I know of.
Right, but we are working on that. So we do want to get credit for our school. And as long as the students take the exam, as soon as they graduate in May, they could go sit for the exam like the next day, as soon as they get their high school diploma. And then as long as it's taken before and passed before the month of June is over, I believe they're still going to, that's still going to count for the school and for the EPSO credits. Are there any other questions? Tiffany? Are there any other questions? Are there any other questions? No more? Okay.
Sorry, I thought you were looking.
So do we need to go ahead and provide the keyword, and then anybody else who wants to hang out for a minute, we can pull up the task list and go over that?
Yeah, Sloan just said the window for new certifications will be open soon, so hopefully it'll go through this next time. But our keyword for this session is laptop. Laptop is the keyword. I apologize for that not being on the screen. It was on mine, and instead of going back and forth.
Okay. And so the code number that you might need also is NHN2L, NHN2L, and then the code word is laptop, so that you guys can get your credit. So anybody else that wants to stay, the session is open for 10 more minutes for additional questions, and then we can go over the RBT task list so you can see what students are going to have to perform before they can test. Tiffany, do you want to go over that for anybody who's staying with us?
Thanks, guys. We really appreciate you tuning in.
All right, Tiffany, are you there?
Yes. Yeah, I'm still here. My dog's
Okay.
been crazy.
Can you see the task list?
Yes.
Okay, do you want to go over that? So we still have 10 minutes before the window closes. For anybody, there's still 34 participants. I don't know if they're wanting to hang out and look at this with you.
I went through it already, but that wasn't up on the screen though, was it?
No. So we can just kind of scroll through it.
Yeah.
And so all of this information, the PowerPoint, the task list, the dual enrollment handbook, those are all in our session under the materials. So you guys can go in and download any of that and save it to your computer for reference. So some of the things that students will have to be able to do in order to implement. They'll have to do assessments, of course, their skills. Behavior reduction. Professional conduct. We have standards for that. So when we just go over some of our standards that we naturally do in the course, then we're able to cover a lot of the professionalism part of it. So some of this naturally just fits in with our standards, and that's why we thought that this certification would go really well with the Practicum course. And we have the special, the CDC students from the structured SPED setting who come in and we work with them. So we're able to learn with them and actually practice a lot of this stuff with them. And so they're also getting some of the benefit of being able to kind of go through these tasks with us, with our students while they practice. So it's a really nice built-in lab. Okay, so this session 1:15, so at 1:25, it's gonna automatically time out. I can pull up real quick for those of you that are still hanging out. I've got 22, it looks like, that are still in here. So I've got about 3 minutes before it closes us out. This is MTSU's Nutrition and Food Science program. This is their dual nutrition classes. And so it's showing you here that this is the nutrition across the lifespan. And the Principles of Nutrition course is the college course that they can get dual credit for. And then for our nutrition science diet therapy course, the nutrition for health sciences course aligns with that. In this class, I've done it for 3 years. I get a lot of health sciences students. So along with our pathway students and health sciences students, we usually fill up. Over the years, we've had about 20 students each time. And so that's growing. The program is growing for that as well. And then Janet Colson, this is her contact information at MTSU. They would love to work with any other schools or any other counties that are interested in offering these options to the students. Don't think that any of this is going to make your teaching experience any more difficult. It actually makes it a lot easier. They've given us a lot of prepared materials, ready to go stuff, and it's nice to have our material plus extra material, and you never run out of anything. So we got the difference between dual enrollment and dual credit coming up here. So this is just going to talk about the introduction, how it's a $60 records fee to take the exam. It's non-refundable. But Dr. Colson does give us all of the information. She's worked really hard trying to prepare the PowerPoints and note sheets and study questions so that students can be successful whenever they sit for the exam. So for the dual enrollment, the students do become actual college students. They have rights to go on campus and use the facilities. They do have to pay for the course out of their lottery money. And so the dual credit class is it's local instead of statewide. And so she's talking about here the $60 records fee again for 3 hours of college credit. So that's awesome. For these courses, you know, students don't have to be going in to become dietitians or necessarily anything in the nutrition field. They could. Nutrition could also be their minor. And then they can also use these credits for both of these dual credit, dual enrollment courses for, they have to have electives in college too. And so those could fulfill the electives. And so it is $125. It's probably going to shut off here in a second. But I did want to show you guys that MTSU has this this plan laid out very well for both courses. If you guys are interested in contacting Janet Colson at MTSU, the test is 100 questions. So again, very similar to the TSIC, and it's just a 70% to pass it. And they do give us all the resources. So the teachers will get a D2L access platform to log on to and access all the materials. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'm sure it's going to automatically shut down here in a second, so I'm just going to go ahead and close it out. If you guys have any questions, you can email us or email Dr. Colson. Thank you guys very much for hanging on with us the extra few minutes and looking at this material. You can access it under my files when the presentation is finished if you'd like to download any of this. Thank you all.